The sun was sinking behind the rusted rooftops of the small town, painting everything in a tired shade of gold. In that fading light, a little girl, barely 10, dragged a torn backpack along the cracked road. Her name was Clara. Her shoes were falling apart, her hair tangled with dust, and her eyes, those deep brown eyes, carried the kind of silence only loss could teach. She had no one left. No home, no parents, no one to call her own. Just a crumpled photo of her mother and a note that said, "Be brave, my little girl. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of love to change broken lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Every click helps spread stories of hope that the world desperately needs." Clara wandered until she reached the edge of town, where the roar of engines echoed from a small biker garage called Iron Haven. The smell of oil and steel filled the air. The sound of wrenches clanking against metal made her heart race. It wasn't the kind of place anyone would tell a little girl to go, but she had nowhere else. The men there were rough, tattooed, and loud, their laughter shaking the air like thunder. At the center of it all stood Cole, a broad-shouldered biker with a silver beard and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. He was the kind of man people feared and respected in equal measure. When Clara stepped through the door, every head turned. The laughter stopped. No one knew what to say to this skinny, dirt-covered girl standing in the middle of their world. She swallowed her fear and said in a trembling voice, I can clean, please. I just need a place to stay." Cole studied her for a long moment. He didn't say a word, he just nodded toward a broom leaning against the wall. "Start there," he muttered. And just like that, Clara began her new life. At first the men kept their distance, they didn't know what to make of her. Some whispered she'd only bring trouble. Others thought she'd run away after a day. But Clara stayed. Every morning she arrived before dawn, sweeping floors, scrubbing oil stains, and organizing tools twice her size. She didn't complain, didn't ask for anything. Her hands blistered, her clothes were always dirty, but there was a quiet strength in the way she worked. Cole watched her silently from a distance. He saw the way she'd flinch at sudden noises, the way her eyes lingered on family photos hanging on the garage wall. One day he found her sitting on the floor near a bike engine, whispering softly to herself. "If I can fix this," she said, "maybe I can fix me too." Something inside him shifted that day. Cole had been many things in life. A fighter, a leader, a man with regrets heavier than his bike. He'd lost people too. Maybe that's why when he saw Clara, he saw a reflection of his own pain. He started teaching her things, how to hold a wrench, how to check an oil level, how to listen to an engine like it was breathing. Slowly the garage that once echoed with chaos began to sound more like laughter. But the world outside wasn't as kind. People in town whispered behind their backs. "That biker gang's up to something," they'd say. "That girl's not safe with them." A few even tried to take her away, calling it for her own good. But Clara refused. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged somewhere. These rough men had become her family. Cole, especially, had become the father she never had. One rainy evening, the storm outside was fierce. The garage was half flooded, and everyone was working to keep the bikes dry. Clara slipped on the wet floor, cutting her hand on a sharp tool. Cole rushed to her side, his rough hands trembling as he wrapped her wound. "You're tougher than you look, kid," he said with a soft chuckle. She smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. "That's because you taught me." In that moment, something unspoken passed between them, something deeper than blood. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Clara grew stronger, smarter, and braver. The men who once doubted her now trusted her with their best bikes. They called her Little Mechanic, and she wore the name like a badge of honor. She even started sketching her own bike designs in an old notebook. But the test of love always comes when life hits hardest. One afternoon, Cole's motorcycle broke down on a deserted road. A truck driver, not seeing him in the heavy rain, lost control. The crash was brutal. When the news reached the garage, Clara dropped everything and ran barefoot through the storm until she reached him. Cole was bruised but alive. He looked up at her and smiled weakly. "Guess I built you tough for a reason," he whispered. In the hospital days that followed, Clara never left his side. She cleaned his hands, brought him food, and read him old motorcycle manuals just to make him smile. When he was finally well enough to return to the garage, he found a surprise waiting. On his workbench sat a bike engine Clara had repaired all by herself. On the tank she had painted the words, "For Dad." Cole stood there for a long time, silent. Then, with tears glistening in his eyes, he hugged her tightly. "You fixed more than an engine, Clara," he said softly. "You fixed me." From that day on, no one ever called her the abandoned girl again. She was family, one of them. The roughest biker gang in town had found its heart in the smallest, bravest soul who had ever walked into their garage. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, when the sun dipped low and the engines purred softly, Cole and Clara would sit side by side watching the light fade. He'd tell her stories of the open road, and she'd listen with a smile, her eyes full of dreams. If this story touched your heart, even a little, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in love and second chances, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what family truly means. Before you go, comment below, do. You believe that family is chosen, not just born? Your thoughts might inspire someone else today. Because in the end, kindness isn't about who you're born to. It's about who shows up when the world turns its back. And for Clara, that made all the difference.